always love this text. It's kind of a bizarre text, but I want to give us a little bit of context first. We've been hearing quite a bit from Acts in the liturgical calendar after Jesus' death and resurrection. We move into Acts, which is Luke's second half of his gospel. It is called the Acts of the Apostles, not the sit around watching what Jesus is going to do next of the apostles. They already had that phase. In fact, this last week we had the liturgical calendar celebrated the ascension of Jesus. We didn't read that text this year, but it's one of my favorite little bizarre Acts moments. Luke tells that tale at the end of his gospel and at the beginning of Acts because it's the bridge material. And after spending the 40 days post-resurrection with his disciples, the risen Jesus then ascends in a very kind of like hokey cloud chariot kind of way, and it ends like this. Kind of like the Northern Lights are supposed to be viewable. It's like the people who show up early, like me. Okay, so they're standing there doing nothing. That would have been the acts of the people standing around doing nothing. And then the two angels come down and go, I think he told you to go to Galilee and get about it, right? And then they're like, oh, yeah, we got to go do the gospel now. And so we get this unfolding story of them beginning to live out their identities as followers in the way of Jesus Christ. And we get the way that rubs up against Rome, and that rubs up against the Jewish council, that rubs up even against the more conservative Jewish elements of their own movement of Jesus' followers. And so the Acts of the Apostles is a story of a people in conflict as they begin to be authentically living out their faith in a world that invites them to be quiet and not rock the boat. And we get these stories over and again about it. And I love this one, which I like to think of as three big monkey wrenches thrown into the gears of our world and how our day-to-day life is meant to be led. The first one is an almost accidental moment, and yet beautifully apocalyptic in the sense of revealing, opening our eyes to a truth we don't want to see. So the first is that Paul just gets annoyed, right? Paul's walking around. I need somebody. Graham, you're annoying. Can you come help me? I'm going to be Paul. And you're going to be this woman with a spirit of divination whose spirit just keeps wanting to say that I am a slave of the Most High, right? No, be as annoying as you can. Shrill, loud. I'm going to go talk to... And you keep doing it. And it happens so much that Paul doesn't even think about it. Spirit, leave her in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And it does. And he's not trying to do good. He's just annoyed, right? Only now you're just Graham. Hey, Graham, you can go back and sit down now, right? And the spirit that she was a slave to that made her an economic opportunity to her owners is gone. I love what happens next, because I've been in these conversations with some folks about the challenges of, is religion a power for good, or is religion as much a power for evil and hurt as it is for good? And in the end, does the whole religious endeavor make sense? And my response to that is always, the problem is sussing out when we're really fighting about religion and when we're not. Right? So what happens when they haul Paul and Silas before the magistrates? They accuse them of practicing religious principles that are against Roman law. But what are they really hauling them in prison for? Because they're losing money. You just hurt my pocketbook. I was exploiting the working class. Oops, Andrew just, got a little political. I was exploiting the working class to my benefit, and you messed with that. You threw a monkey wrench into the gears of my economic possibilities, and so I'm going to haul you in retributively over a religious conflict that's really an economic conflict. A little holy disruption of the economic system that dehumanizes and enslaves. And you should, in the reading of this text, understand the juxtaposition of the two kinds of slavery that are talked about here. Who else is named to be a slave? Paul and Silas. Because that's what she's running around saying. Or really, it's not her, it's the spirit of divination that is croning out in Graham's voice. Those are slaves of the Most High God, right? So we're juxtaposing this servantness, this slaveness to these different spirits. One's to the spirit of a dehumanizing consumerism, and the other is a spirit of the God of life, the God of abundant life for all people, of abundant opportunity for all people. And we're meant to juxtapose these things because Paul and Silas are no more free than she was. This is one of the truths of the Acts of the Apostles, that Christianity frees you to enslave you. It frees you from a world of debts and debtors, of hierarchy, of class status, of race status, of economic status. It frees you from all of that, but then it links you to the gospel in a way that you are no longer free to just do whatever you want because you have this burning yearning. Say that with me, burning yearning. Yeah, see, that sounds like fun. Burning yearning to be about the healing of the world. And so we're going to end there, but this is an homage. We're going to end with these two healing stories. But first, we get to get the second disruption. So the text makes it very clear. They are hauled in. The magistrates imprison them. They manacle them. They put them in the middle. At first light, Bonnie said the text wants to make a lot of how securely they are fastened up in prison. The point of that for the text is to make sure you understand the truly awesome power of the God who can overcome more than just shoddy jailoring, right? With this somewhat comic seismic event. Y'all, this is straight out of science fiction. This is a very targeted seismic weapon that makes a huge earthquake happen in a very small spot, and it shakes the foundations of the prison. Or we might say, foundations of a penal economic system. And it makes the manacles pop open and the doors pop open to opportunity. So it wants us to understand that we are about opening up. We are about opening up the eyes of the world to the ways that we are servants and slaves of systems that do not care about the well-being of everybody. And breaking that open to the possibilities of the Most High God who yearns for the abundant life of all creation. Second monkey wrench. What's the third monkey wrench? Do you think? You can be wrong, it's okay. What do you think might be the third monkey wrench that's in my head? There's a lot of monkey wrenches in my head. Hold on. It's a convoluted, scary place. In this text, what is the third one you think I might be looking at? Fraser. They don't leave. Have you all played Monopoly? And have you played Monopoly? When you get a get out of jail free card, you use it, right? What kind of idiots sit there still trying to roll snake eyes or whatever it takes to get out of jail? It's been a while since I played Monopoly. When they're sitting on a get out of jail free card, the jail breaks open, their manacles break open. In the system, they've done their disruption. Now they're supposed to run and hide until they can disrupt the system again. That's how guerrilla warfare works. Only they don't. They stay. They stay in the place of disruption. They stay in the place of imprisonment. They stay because the only way to have ongoing opportunity to heal the people caught up in the pain of this old system is to be there and have a conversation with them. Paul is not worried. Silas is not worried about his life. He's worried about his jailer's life. He's worried about the household of the jailer's life. He's worried about the prisoners that are in jail. And so he knows, even though no one's watching me right now, I need to do what is right because I'm enslaved to the gospel of liberation, the gospel of holy disruption, the gospel of abundant life, of turning tombs inside out. He is risen. Oh, 6 weeks late, you still remember. Because it's still true. And so they stay. And the jailer's about to, in this shame-based culture in which he did not do what his overlords would expect him to do. And when you fail to be productive in the economic system of Rome, your life is forfeit. And so he draws his sword, and Paul says, "Stop!" We're still here. I'd love if the jailer was like, "Are you all a little dense? Like, what are you?" But he doesn't. What does he do? He gets on his knees before them. Because they are, I imagine, radiating a kind of assurance, a blessed assurance. They're holy troublemakers that have disrupted the system. And yet I wonder if he knows somehow they stuck around because I matter to them. I, who am just a cog in a machine to my Roman system, matter to them. And then there's this beautiful interlay in the latter part of the story. Read it later, of where every sentence is an action and an action, an action and an action. And it's these two parties, the jailer and his household, and Paul and Silas with this little prisoner congregation in this worship service that has erupted in this earthquake, seismically destroyed prison. And the jailer takes them into his home and he binds their wounds. And then they baptize him to bind his wounds. He heals them in the healing of his heart and the walking into the life of another world, to become servants not of Rome, but of the Most High God. Actors not of consumerism and dehumanizing economic advantage, but actors of the gospel of Jesus Christ, lit on fire to be liberated and to liberate the world, to run around with a stash of monkey wrenches, throwing them in the gears of all of the forces at play in our life that dehumanize us, that make us about what kind of economic opportunity do I get from you, that make us into the kind of people who either fight or flee, but never stay to face the music. To become disruptors of all the things that erode the well-being of the community of God. And so as I read this quirky, fun, Monkeywrench text, I feel convicted to become that kind of disruptor. The kind of disruptor who recognizes some of the gears of my own personal life that need disrupting. Some of the habits I have that do not put me in abundant life. Some of the coping mechanisms that I might use for the funkiness of our day-to-day struggles that I have to look at. We sang this hymn. We sang the words of the Lord's Prayer. But in the repetition of the chorus, it started to sound like, God, will you let your kingdom come? Like the hang up for God's kingdom coming was on God's side. Have you heard that language before? And it wanted to make it so that all the things that are wrong, that are hang-ups, that stop these things from happening, are about Satan or the evil one. Deliver us from the time of trial, right? But this is a thing in our own hearts, right? Do we want to live into God's kingdom? Do we want to live in a world where we might give up some of our personal opportunities to usher in a day when everyone has a chance at abundant life? Will we stay in the prison because the prison guard is worth healing, even if it turns out that he puts us back in manacles? Are we willing to disrupt our family dysfunctions, our personal bad habits, and our community systematic sins that are holding us back? Are we willing to be loud and annoying enough about it that it seems like we are slaves of a spirit of disruption? Because we are. Disrupting injustice, disrupting personal greed, disrupting anything that dehumanizes anyone. There's only two sides of that coin: the people who were okay with it and the people who were not. In the words of Joshua, this day for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Amen.